Welcome to another episode of The Inquisitive Analyst. I'm your host, Marcus Udikang. It's the show where we chat about business analysis and project management issues and the challenges and triumphs within those fields. It's inspiring and inquisitive and very much informative. My guest today is a management consultant and enterprise architect. He's also founder and managing partner of IT Architects. A few of his specializations include application portfolio management, business process reengineering, system evolution planning, ERP implementation, and capability assessment and benefits realization. So please help me welcome to today's show, joining us all the way from Calgary, Canada, Bob Ivkovic. Welcome, Bob.
Hey, Marcus. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me on your program. I look forward to the next 20 minutes or more.
Fantastic. Now, I thought I would start off by asking how you got started in the IT architecture business.
Boy, that goes back 38 years ago. So that tells you how long I've been at this game of enterprise architecture and all kinds of architecture. So after finishing university, I took a job where I could do IT and business. So I joined Gulf Oil, and I'm the second Oracle DBA in Western Canada. So I was doing database work for about 5 years. Then I went back to university to do an MBA in finance, to get into the banking industry. And I had a change of heart, and I wanted to stay in IT, and I went into consulting, and the rest is history.
Excellent. Wow. Oracle DBAs. I touched Oracle once. It's been quite a while. Can you explain a bit about ERP Cloud Architecture? I mean, what does that involve?
Boy, cloud is such a prevalent term these days. It basically means let someone else do the IT part, and we'll just stick to what we know, our business. So cloud has developed over the past decade and more. It's a way for companies to relieve themselves from IT, managing all their IT assets, managing all their IT resources, and allowing vendors to do most of that work for them. The only thing that they can't offer or give the vendor to do for them is the management of their data. That's something that will always be managed by the business, by the organization, only because it has to be dealt up with by their business and IT stakeholders. So we can go through the whole scheme of what it means to do software as a service versus platform as a service versus infrastructure as a service. All those different things mean different things. But if you're at the SaaS level, that means that the vendor or an outside organization is managing all your IT assets and resources except for the data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, data is the new oil, I've heard. Now, you worked as a management consultant with some large oil companies here in Calgary, like Suncor, Husky, Talisman, to name a few. What did you, how did you find that experience working with them? Any good takeaways that you gleaned from working there?
The takeaway is always turn off your cell phone when you're doing a podcast. That is such a general and loaded question. The takeaways, I think the biggest takeaway is that the business drives your IT. So the business basically has to understand what they want out of their computers, what they need to do to automate their processes and make them lean and mean. So when I say lean and mean, we want to be able to manage our IT landscape, our application systems, resources, by being as efficient and effective as possible. So this is what we're always trying to optimize. And I think a lot of organizations, they see IT as a service that's going to support their business by automating and allowing them to use a computer system to do their work. But at the end of the day, it's really understanding what these systems are going to do for them and what the value is that they're going to deliver. So I always tell people, I give them an example and I say, if your business process is broken, then it doesn't matter how we automate that business process. You're not going to be doing it any better. And we are going to be automating something that's already broken. So if you want to really leverage technology, you have to make sure that you understand and optimize your business processes and all the procedures and work activities that are accomplished or performed by your business users. And we only look at our systems as a way, as a support arm to deliver our business process and business capabilities within the organization. So what's the takeaway? The takeaway is that business and IT have to work in a partnership. And it's not just the business trying to optimize their processes, but it's also IT being able to deliver on the IT or the business requirements of those processes.
It's a mutual relationship that really can't, it has to work in cohesion, basically, is what you're saying.
And cohesion, and I know that we talked about oil and gas companies, but this is across industries. I don't care whether you're talking manufacturing, financial, airline, municipality, federal government, oil and gas. You know what? They all have the same philosophy. They all have their own business processes, but the technology is really what makes them lean and mean and being able to support their business. So whatever you're automating, you have to understand what the business capabilities and underlying processes are that you're going to be making lean and mean and automating in a way that is beneficial to the business.
I like that term, lean and mean. I think I'm going to pick that up. Now, we've seen a few project managers take the path to become management consultants. Do you have any recommendations on a good path to take to become a management consultant?
Well, you know what? Maybe the question is, what's the difference between a management consultant and a project manager? Well, a management consultant is very strategic. Management consultants are hired to provide and deliver a strategy in which the organization is going to, how it's going to operate and how it's going to meet the requirements of the business. Now, the project manager is more tactical. The project manager comes in to deliver a solution that is being supported by a strategy. So that project manager usually comes in to either re-engineer business processes and also to deploy or help deploy solutions to optimize business processes and meet the requirements of a specific area of the business that is trying to deliver a solution. So one is very strategic, the other one's very tactical. And then we also have project people that are more at the operational level. So we need to now figure out all the different things that are involved in terms of systems, procedures, shareability, and creation of data. All those things become operationalized, and we do have, as much as I want to call them project managers, but we do have project people that are brought in to make sure that we can run our operations. So we go from a strategic to a tactical to an operational level of management, whether we call it management consulting, process management. There's a lot more people and roles that are involved in all those things.
Incredible. Now, we've chatted a bit about business analysts and the importance for business analysts to understand what a business rule is. What's your definition of a business rule?
Well, it's the same thing I told you last time we talked. And I know this, it's not a trick question, but I know working with business analysts, and I don't mean to put down business analysts, but we have business analysts that are very formal. And then we have business analysts that don't always understand what a business rule is. So I keep telling people that a business rule is one of four things. It's usually a rule that's based on a process. So when we talk about a specific process, like creating, for example, a purchase order, we have to understand what business rules are required to create a purchase order. So I always tell people that a business rule is one, a definition. For example, what is a process? What is a purchase order? A fact. So there might be some facts in terms of a purchase order and whether we're going to be creating a quote, whether we're going to have some other kinds of artifacts that get created alongside of a purchase order. So it can be a definition, a fact, a constraint, or a derivation. So a business rule has to be one of four things. And usually it's a constraint. It's something that we have to basically resolve, or a problem that we have to get through by understanding the constraints of creating a purchase order, whatever that process is. Derivation, when I say a derivation is if I have to calculate something, I'm not going to store that calculation. I need to understand what the formula is to basically solve for a number. So if I have a total, or if I have averages or any those kinds of things, I'm not going to store those. Those things are all derived from other data. So like I said, I don't want to repeat myself, but a business rule, it's a definition, fact, constraint, or derivation. And where did I learn that? I learned that back in the early 80s when I used to get Ronald Ross's database newsletter. And to this day, I saved an article called "What is a Business Rule?" And here I am, almost 40 years later, telling people what a business rule is.
That's incredible. Sometimes the best of things never change with time. And it just, because you see so many different things out there, so many different definitions. And now I think you've just set the story straight. So that's good. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. Now, how do you define, we talked a bit about capabilities. How do you define a capability, and why are capabilities so important in IT architecture?
I guess the best way to understand that is people don't know the difference between a business capability and a business process. I can fire that question to you, and I bet you already know, Marcus. You're one of these guys that's studied a lot of this stuff, and talking to different people, you have different answers. But a business capability is all those things, and I'll tell you what all those things are. A business process, we all know what a business process is. So a business process is, and I'll go back to create purchase order. That's a business process. So business process is defining how we're going to create a purchase order. Now, a business capability, we're going to word it a little differently. A business process, you always use verb noun. So create purchase order. Okay, there's basically an adjective there. Purchase order, we're creating an order. What kind of order? We're creating a purchase order. Purchase is the adjective. So when we talk about a process. It's a business thing. Now, when I talk about a business capability, I'm going to reverse those words. Instead of saying create purchase order, I'm going to call it purchase order creation. Because when I do purchase order creation, it's not just the process, it's the procedure that I need to create that purchase order. So I have a process, which is create purchase order. I have a procedure, which gives me all the tasks or steps to create a purchase order. I have data. That's another part of the capability. What data do I need to create a purchase order? And when I do create a purchase order, what data is that purchase order comprised of? I also have to understand which system is going to help me create that purchase order and the interfaces. So if I create a purchase order, what other systems do I have to send that purchase order data to? And also the underlying technology of my system. So I might be using an Oracle database, a certain kind of network. I might be doing some kind of workflow. So all those things are part of the purchase order creation capability. And create purchase order is a process within the capability of purchase order creation. So I always tell people, if you want to know the difference, reword it. Create purchase order is the process. What do you think the capability is? What I just said. I would have to go purchase order creation. I just have to reword it, because purchase order creation is all those things. It's process, it's procedure, it's data, it's systems interfaces, it's technology, and number 6, it's people. So the capability, we have to know who the people are, whether it's a functional team, like say a purchasing team, and then the role, we may have purchase order clerks, we may have buyers, we may have different kinds of roles. So the capability is all 6 of those things, and process is only one of those 6 things.
Phenomenal. I think last time we spoke, you gave me almost the exact definition, and it's amazing how you explain this in a very clear and concise way. So thank you very much. That's amazing. Now, can you explain a bit about your company, IT Architects? What are some of the services that you folks offer?
Well, you know what, we offer a wide spectrum, but we're really focused on application portfolio management and business transformation management. Only because I'm an older guy now and I don't want to go to Java or C++ or any of those things. And now that we're focused more on enterprise architecture, we have to be more pragmatic. So when organizations bring in enterprise architects or want an enterprise architecture practice stood up for them, they really don't know what to do with it. But when we tell them, well, you can use it for many different things. We've worked in this industry long enough to understand that a lot of companies are now trying to rationalize their applications and eliminate duplication. They're trying to integrate all their applications within their application landscape. So this takes rationalization and understanding which systems we're going to keep or tolerate, which ones we're going to invest more money in, which ones we're going to merge or migrate to other systems like an ERP, and which ones we're going to eliminate. So when I say tolerate, invest, migrate, merge, eliminate, that's the acronym for that is TIME. So TIME. And that comes from IBM. They have their own application rationalization methodology. And we at IT Architects, and we're not a big company, we are certified in application portfolio management to do that kind of thing. And we're also certified in business transformation management. And we're certified based on the Lean-IX framework. Lean-IX is out of Germany. And we work with a team out of Boston, Massachusetts. And we are a partner of LeanIX here in Western Canada. And we try to basically sell our services based on our APM, application portfolio management, and business transformation management understanding and certification according to the LeanIX framework.
Incredible. I thought I'd ask you a bit about architecture because you're obviously in that field. Maybe you can tell us a bit about the distinguishing difference between precedence architecture, program architecture, and enterprise architecture.
Well, those are good terms. I'm just wondering where you got precedence from, because I did a precedence architecture for the University of Calgary in the late 90s. And the reason I remember it so well is because the University of Calgary was an educational institution at the university level that had a very local student population, probably about 95%, and only 5% foreign students from other countries and maybe other provinces. And they hired a management consulting firm to help them understand how they could get how they could become a more international based university. So they wanted to bring that number from 5% to over 10%. And I worked for a re-engineering consulting firm at the time. And because there were all these different processes that they had to follow to work as a university, they had to change things in order to be more of an international based institution. So I worked with a group and we performed what's called a precedence architecture. So we dissected the university into all the different processes they perform, and we took it down to more of a tactical level, not just at the strategic. And we started to understand which processes would be the enabling processes to basically meet the requirements of a foreign student base. So this meant things like remote learning and having a curriculum that would be more enticing to students outside of Calgary. So when we figured out what the enabling processes were, then we would focus on those, we identified those, and then the enabled processes would come as a secondary priority. So we knew that we had to re-engineer the enabling processes, and then we would work on all the different processes that were tied to those. So we set up what's called a precedence architecture. And it was an understanding of which processes were the enablers, which ones were the enabled, and where we would get our biggest bang for the buck. So in other words, there were so many processes to deal with, we had to zero in on the most critical ones. There were probably about 7 or 10 high-level processes. Then we would work those down to a transactional level and build out those capabilities, the systems, the processes, the people, all that jazz. That's precedence. Program means if I go into a big company and they want to basically, I'm doing something right now where they're revamping their inventory management system and needs to talk to SAP. So there's this whole program around inventory management. So program means it's basically scoped around a certain functional area, like inventory management. And then we develop the architecture to make sure that we can do our inventory management in an optimized manner in terms of our demand and supply forecasting, those kinds of things. And then the last thing is enterprise architecture. Enterprise, just the enterprise word means all encompassing. So program might be inventory management, but enterprise is across the board. So when we talk about enterprise means we're going to hone in on all those areas, not just inventory management under materials management, but plant maintenance for a manufacturing company, finance and control for any company, sales and distribution. So enterprise architecture is across the board. And this is why we have ERPs, things like SAP and Salesforce and JD Edwards, because these companies offer systems that work at an enterprise level. So when we do our finance and control, we do it for the entire organization, not just for not having a separate system to do financial support for materials management versus sales and distribution and those kinds of things. So that should give you an understanding of precedence versus program versus enterprise.
Amazing. Absolutely incredible. And perhaps I should ask, the last question is, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Well, the best way, itarchitects.ca. So that's the name of my company, IT Architects. It's all one word. Don't forget to put the S at the end of architects.ca, and phone numbers, emails, all that stuff is in there.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll put the URL to your website on the YouTube channel as well. So I want to thank you once again for coming on the Inquisitive Analyst. It's been an absolute honor, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks a lot, Marcus. Take care.
Right. Take care. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And now a word from our sponsors. The Lewis Institute provides an enterprise project management program that does more than just train PMs. It helps support them from the CEO level on down. These courses help certify project leaders and prepare them to pass the PMP exam. The Business Agility Institute provides Emergence, the Journal of Business Agility. This quarterly publication brings you inspiring stories from the most innovative companies. Use the promo code ANALYST to get a 10% discount on your annual subscription.